Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of What If Deku Had a Blazer Quirk. He will have Ikki Kurogane's powers, but with a twist to make it more interesting. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy. All men are not created equal. Izuku had learned this through his parents at a young age. His parents would push their ideals onto Izuku, wanting him to be the next head of the family and not letting him interact with other kids his age. They wanted him to understand the view of the world early on, hoping that it would help him mature and see things differently. Only because once Izuku had got his quirk he wanted to be a hero, but his parents had been against that because they already had a path set for him. But Izuku didn't want to follow the path that they would choose for him, he wanted to make his own decision. So that's why Izuku would train with his quirk, which is called Blazer. He can summon a blade called Intetsu, which is a raven black katana that has a rectangular tsuba that also grants him different abilities. So at night he would practice different sword styles once he knew his parents were asleep. But now we skip to when he was 12 years old. His parents had no luck on making him stop pursuing his dream of becoming a hero, which also meant they had been harsh to him, even going as far as to kick him out and sending him to his grandfather. Izuku had wondered why they were so persistent for him to not be a hero. This inner conflict inside Izuku had left him lost. He didn't know how things would end up for him. Izuku knows that in 2 years his parents would force the hero schools in Japan to not accept him. And in the off chance that they did, they would try to get him expelled or make it not possible for him to graduate. Izuku had changed mentally because of his parents. They told him how the world truly is, and that being a hero was the cause of most of the problem. Once Izuku had got to his grandfather's house, he had expected him to be harsh to him and not treat him well like how his parents had done, but he was surprised when none of that happened. But his grandfather had knew of his situation, which led him to get kicked out of the Kurogane household. He then speaks to Izuku, making eye contact with said boy. Are you frustrated at the fact that your parents don't believe in you in becoming a hero, then thinking that you will fail? If so, hold on to that feeling. That's proof that you haven't given up yet on yourself. Listen, don't give up saying that you're going to be living within your boundaries. Don't be a boring person like that. If you have the guts to not give up, you can become anything you want to be. We're living creatures that don't have wings, but still went to the moon. Now show them that you can be great at whatever you choose, no matter how many setbacks there is. Don't give up. Izuku was now a crying mess. He never had expected anyone to encourage him to achieve his dreams. Throughout his whole life he had been told the complete opposite, that his dreams didn't matter. But now someone had gave him hope again, made him want to think for himself again, and he would train to be the strongest and best there was. Throughout the remaining years of middle school, Izuku had lived on his own, having had his grandfather pass away a month after Izuku had moved in. And during this time he would train at dojos and challenge the strongest students there. At the end of it he was considered a master at martial arts while also being a master swordsman. He had studied and mastered all of the sword techniques while also coming up with one of his strongest move. That being Itashura. He pours all of his energy into 1 minute, which increases his strength tenfolds, but it also causes him to collapse soon after, which is the reason why he could only use this move once per day. He also developed perfect vision and quirk steel. With perfect vision he is able to use great insight and analyze and steal his opponent's techniques. It also allows him to grasp their deepest secret. Side note, he is still going to have blade steel, but quirk steel is going to be similar to Krallo Lucifer's power. But back to the story. And with quirk steel, once he reads his opponent's moves he combines perfect vision with blade steel, allowing him to mimic and copy his opponent's quirk to the fullest, but he can only do so when he calls forth Intetsu, and he has to keep perfect vision activated the whole time, which in turn makes him able to only copy one quirk at a time. But we now skip to the day of the entrance exams. Izuku just hopes the path that he chose was for the best. Soon afterward he gets ready and starts making his way to UA. Once he arrives at the front of UA, Izuku stares in awe for a few seconds, but shortly afterwards enters inside, where he had took the written exam and got a decent score, and is now waiting for a teacher to talk about the practical exam. Once said teacher arrives, it is revealed to be present Mike. He then speaks up, "All right examinees, you guys excited, or what?" No one had responded to him, making present Mike say, "Wow, tough crowd, huh?" But anyways, there are 4 types of villain robots, that being the 1-pointer, 2-pointer, 3-pointer, and lastly the 0-pointer, but just ignore that one, it is just an obstacle. Shortly afterward he dismisses all of the examinees and gives them their test site. Izuku, having had got City A. Said boy changes into a black tracksuit and waits in front of the gates, all the while stretching. Once he sees the gates open, he rushes in. Soon afterward, as he runs, he activates his quirk. "Come to me in Tetsu." As he is saying this, he is cupping his left hand over the right and pulls out his blade. Izuku turns the corner to see a 1-pointer. Said robot noticed Izuku and rushed at him. Izuku then gets into a stance 7 secret sword. Reiko it, meaning heavenly lightning, where he launches a swift slash with his sword, being akin to lightning roaring through the skies. He cuts the 1-pointer in half and smirks, then rushes off to the middle of the exam site, where he saw 3 2-pointers, 5 1-pointers, and 6 3-pointers. Izuku smirks and shouts, "All right, let's do this." As he says this, he activates perfect vision. He then dodges all of the robots' attacks. As he does this, he is cutting them down. 15 minutes later, Izuku was now at a score of 80 villain points, him trying to keep his stamina in check to keep fighting throughout the exams. Meanwhile, with the faculty members of UA, where Principal Nizu had clicked the big red button on the side of his desk, all the while laughing maniacally, making the other teachers look at said principal and think, "Wow, he is crazy." But we all know big red buttons are a bad sign. Once he released the 0-pointer, all of the examinees were scared. They were all running away from the big robot. Izuku was going to do the same, but that's when he saw a girl with pink skin trapped under some rubble and shouting for help. Once he heard the girl shout for help, he noticed that she was in the path of the 0-pointer. Said girl notices too and starts to use her quirk to try and melt the pieces of debris. Izuku, knowing that he isn't going to have enough time to get her out and run away with her, deducting that her ankle will be sprained and not be able to run very far, he then shouts, "Edo Shura." Our black-haired protagonist just opted to take the 0-pointer down with his ultimate move. The 0-pointer now having its attention on Izuku after hearing him shout. But once Izuku had got into range of the robot's fisted throw to punch at him, only for Izuku to jump to the side of the building and jump towards the 0-pointer while shouting, "With my strongest I will defeat you." As he says this, he reaches the middle of the 0-pointer, where he slashes downwards, cutting the 0-pointer in half. Once the dust had settled, they saw Izuku saying something about, in order for a mediocre man to become the strongest, they have to become a demon. As he says, he passes out soon afterward. When Izuku had woke up, he was surprised to be in a nurse's office and wondering why he was here. Just for him to remember passing out after slashing the 0-pointer like paper. But soon after he awoke, Recovery Girl had told him with his last move he drained all of his stamina, but since he slept a bit he should be free to go. "Do you have parents I can call to pick you up?" Immediately after she said that, Recovery Girl saw his mood go down with him saying, "My parents don't care about me." Recovery Girl frowns, "Well, alright dear, I want pride, but just be careful on your way out." Once said boy had left her office, she contacts Nizu, telling him about what Izuku had told her, making said bare thing sigh while looking over Izuku's application. Well, this boy had been through enough. "A couple of threats won't keep me down. We will allow him entry to UA. He is very promising after all." We now skip to when Izuku reached his home. Once said boy got home, he was hoping for the best. He knew that he passed, but it was the question if he got into said school. He would just have to wait and see. A week had passed with no letter in sight. He sighs and thinks, so my parents managed to scare the #1 hero school, huh? Only for him to hear a ding at the front door. Izuku, not having had expecting anyone, wonders who's at the door. Once he opened the door, it revealed Nizu and the pro hero Eraserhead. They both had asked him if they can come inside, which Izuku agrees to, albeit wearily. Once they made it to his kitchen, they all sat around his table and Nizu had spoke up. Now I know you may be wondering why we are here and if you didn't get into UA or not, but worry not, Kurogane-san, you got into UA. You also got the top score, but we didn't come here to tell you that alone, it's also a matter that you should have expected, am I correct? Making Izuku nod. Yes sir, my parents didn't want me to fulfill my dreams and would do anything in their power to show me that I'm taking the wrong path and should follow the one they chose for me. He says this in an angered tone. Aizawa then sighs. Now we know what your situation is, well, at least part of it. Well, why are you living by yourself? Did you run away? Making Izuku shake his head. No. Once they had figured words wouldn't help me see reason, they would treat me like garbage. They would always exclude me from family matters and would leave me in the basement where there was only a rock for a bed while barely giving me food. Aizawa and Nizu hears this, then gets angry but doesn't say anything, opting to let Izuku finish speaking. They done that for a few months, but once that didn't work they gave up completely and just kicked me out of the house and left me with my grandfather. So where is your grandfather now, asks Nizu. He died in an accident. On the first month of me living with him. So you've been alone for all this time? Izuku then nods. Alright, well, we came to tell you we will be implementing a dorm system once school starts. We came to tell you this because your parents might send mercenaries after you or even villains. Making Izuku respond, wow, what happened to them wanting me to change my dream to their own, but I guess they didn't like that I got accepted into a hero school. Especially the best hero school in all of Japan. The three had talked a little more, but it had came time for the two to leave, but before they did, Nizu spoke up. Once you start at UA, when you go out, we will have heroes survey the area around you and jump in to aid you in case of what I said actually happens. The two then leaves shortly afterward. Meanwhile with Izuku, he had no idea that what Nizu feared would come sooner than later. We now skip to three villains looking over the file to capture Izuku Kurogane. The leader of said villains chuckled darkly and spoke. So Tamurai, you think you can handle this mission with Kurogane? Yes sensei, I will make him our priority when we attack UA soon. He says this with an eerie laugh. But we now skip to the next day at UA. Izuku had changed into the UA uniform and had locked the doors behind him. He then got on a train going towards UA. All the while a man with a hood was following closely behind him with two others. They had followed him into the train and was now sitting a few seats away from Izuku. Our protagonist had noticed them following him, but he didn't know what to do, but for now he just tried to remain calm. But once he had got off said train, he saw that the three men were reaching for something that was hidden within their hoods. It was guns. Izuku then shouts, everyone get down. Making everyone glance at him, most of them having had been confused on why he would say, but that's when. The confusion soon turned into fear upon seeing the three men having guns out and aiming them at Izuku. Izuku, thinking quickly, shouts, come to me in Tatsu. Not even a moment afterward the three mercenaries had already begun to fire at Izuku, making all the bystanders run in a hurry away from the scene. All the while Izuku was surprised that people were already after him. Izuku not wanting anyone getting hurt because of him. So he started to walk forward while cutting the bullets in half, making the three back away while still shooting for him. At this time Izuku had perfect vision activated and was just waiting for them to reload their guns. And once they did, Izuku grinned and lunged forward at the three. When he lunged at them, two of the three mercenaries had moved out of the way just in time. But one of them wasn't so lucky and got a punch straight to his jaw, making him go flying back into the now empty train, denting said train on impact and knocking the guy out in the process. Izuku then speaks again, did you really think firearms would work against me? He scoffs and raises his sword to the remaining two. I'm going to give you one chance to walk away, and if you don't with all of my strength, I will defeat you. The leader of the three speaks up while pulling his hood down. Why, you are one cocky kid, but don't push your luck, boy. As he says this, he pulls out a type of small container that had a needle at the side, while on the front it reading trigger in. The man then grins while Izuku is just confused. So what is that thing gonna do? Allow me to show you. As he says this, he stabs it into his arm, and not a moment afterward, The man starts to use his quirk, which was telekinesis, making Izuku realize that this man was a well-known villain that would kill for money, his name being Whirlwind. But said villain used his quirk on nearby cars and had launched them towards Izuku, making him dodge out of the way, and is now trying to move closer to him, only to stop halfway after seeing a truck getting launched at him. Izuku wasn't expecting this, dodged to side while thinking, this guy won't let me get close to him with that enhanced quirk of his. Wait a minute, that's it, his quirk. I had already analyzed him with perfect vision, making Izuku grin. Now it's not going to be boosted like his, but this should be more than enough to catch him off guard while delivering a knockout blow. The boss then speaks up to the guy beside him, what are you waiting for, fire your gun at him. But before they could do anything else, they see heroes rushing towards them, making the main villain scoff while saying, come on, we can't fight all of those heroes by ourselves. Shortly afterwards, he brings out his phone and starts to type on it. Not even a second later, a purple portal appeared behind the two. Know this boy, I will get you, and mark my words, your days are numbered now. Making said boy scoff and replying with try me. But that's when the police had captured the down mercenary and had questioned Izuku while letting him off the hook from using his quirk in public, but they just put it under self-defense. Izuku then looks around and had saw that people had their cameras towards him, some even being live, making Izuku think, did they record the whole fight? Said boy then remembers, oh crap, I got class, and runs towards UA. When he got to the front gates of UA, Principal Nizu was running out of said school with pro heroes following shortly behind him. All of them stopped once they saw Izuku walking over to them with a confused face. But that's when the boy spoke up. So I'm guessing once you guys saw the news you were going to come and help me. Making all of them nod. But that's when Nizu spoke up as well. Yes, once I saw the news, I had told the heroes over the intercom to meet me at the gates of UA. But since this happened, we will help you move into the dorms. You don't have to worry about the school day. And Aizawa, Vlad King, go back to your classes, and Shota just mark Izuku with a passing grade for today, he will join your class tomorrow. Aizawa just nodded along with Vlad. So they go over to Izuku's house and helps him move the stuff from his room to his new one in the dorms. At the end of it, Izuku was just sitting in his new room and sighed. Wow, UA, but I wonder why my parents want to capture me now and use force. He remembered what the mercenary had told him, that he had to capture him. He just sighed while looking out of the window. That's where he saw kids his age carrying boxes and bags. Izuku just assumed that those were his classmates. But it now being nighttime, he just went back to his bed and fell asleep. But that is this part of this video. Tell me what you guys think of this story in the comments.